Hi everybody, welcome back to my video. So as you can see, the setup today is very different because I'm at home in Montenegro, so I only have my portable setup, but I really want to get this video out before I'm back in Germany. So if anything about the technical aspects of the video is off, I apologize. It will be better next week, but let's get into my Amsterdam Chess Open experience. So it's currently 2025 and I was just in Amsterdam over the weekend for a 6 round long weekend tournament, double round for 3 days long. It was exhausting. It was raining, it was windy. I had to do public transport because my hotel was a bit far away. It was very exhausting. It was very exhausting, but it was so enjoyable to play. And while I don't think I will be playing more weekend tournaments, if you guys are into that, I totally recommend Amsterdam Chess Open. And I recommend staying even longer to experience Amsterdam because with 2 classical chess games per day, you're not going to see any of the city. I only saw some construction and some buses. I was in Group D1. The whole tournament is divided into 4 groups based on rating, and this will be very important for round 4. Stick with me. There's 4 groups. There's A, B, C, D based on rating. So obviously the highest rated players are in Group A, the lowest rated players are in Group D, which also means a lot of unrated players are in Group D. My first opponent was unrated, and I honestly didn't know what to expect, but it was about 5 moves into the game that the game was already decided, and I'll show you exactly why. So in my first ever game, I decided to play e4. My plan for the tournament and my upcoming tournaments is to mix up my openings a lot because people are able to prep against me based on being a YouTuber and streamer, and they can find all my games very easily and all my prep, which is very minimal, by the way. I only have a minimal opening repertoire that I follow. I like it that way because I don't think openings matter that much, but it's also good to know some. For the most part, I was going to play d4 in this tournament, but because it was a morning round, first round, I did not think my opponent had enough time to prep against me. And I also wanted to play something that I was comfortable with because I had such a feeling of anxiety in this whole tournament. I don't know why every game I sat down to play, even this game after move 6, when I actually had a crazy advantage, which I'll just show you in a minute here, the anxiety was immense. I had no idea why. I was just like on edge. I was shaking the whole games, and some of them lasted for many, many hours. So this is what happened. I played e4. She played knight c6, which allowed me to put both my pawns in the center, which is really nice. And then d5. And then this turns into something that I'm familiar with in the Alpine Sicilian opening, which is what I play against the Sicilian. We kind of turned into a similar position, but it was this little trap that I know that wins you a queen. And I was playing the moves. They were going on the same way they do in that trap, and I was saying to myself, surely my opponent will not make the moves that will win me a queen, right? So here's the trap. After here, and after bishop takes f3, bishop takes f3, and if queen takes d4, it looks as though it's a free pawn, doesn't it? Because the queen is protected by the knight, so we can't really take it. But something crazy happens. I have an intermezzo. I think it's called the intermezzo variation, perhaps. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's a different thing I'm thinking of. But basically, in this moment, there's no way to save the black queen. That's GG's pretty much. They took with the b pawn, and after taking the queen, I was already plus 7.5 winning. The only thing it took was converting the game to a win. I was really, really nervous. You'll see that at some point I put my queen on h1 away from any other pieces so that I don't like lose it somehow. I don't know how I would lose it, but somehow. But anyway, I'll show you the game quickly because even though after this black still played on and on, which I understand, it's really hard to resign after like 8 moves. You did lose the queen, you know you're probably going to lose the game, but you try to fight at least. So I was kind of pissed off that she wouldn't resign, my opponent, but at the same time I was like, I wouldn't resign either. I'll just quickly show you. I was trying to be principled. My opponent was giving out some counterplay. I wasn't playing all the best moves as I am not an engine, but I played my best moves, which still won me the game. I was trying to trade pieces. My opponent was very reluctant, which is understandable. The less pieces they have on the board, the less chance of winning back any material. So I managed to somehow trade some pieces here. And even here, I don't think they should have taken back. Honestly, I think they should have just kept their knight. But yeah, there wasn't much hope. So here they start kind of like going after me with the rooks, but my queen is just too powerful. And I will show you guys the only move I regret not making because it was a very beautiful queen sacrifice, but I was not feeling up to it. I knew that it worked, but I wasn't 100% sure because you're never 100% sure in chess. So, well, I guess you can be 100% sure, but not me. I'm never 100% sure about anything. So here, there's the move c6. Quite beautiful. Takes, and there's no stopping this pawn. And I could have played a similar move even here. After rook d6, I can also play c7 now. It's even more beautiful because it's super, super forcing. If they take, I take with promotion. And I knew it worked, and I still didn't do it because I was just like, let's just make it 100% safe. It is 100% safe anyway. I don't know. You know what I'm feeling like. I was not about to give away my queen and then have it not work on me. So I just pushed my pawns, and soon enough, they resigned. Yeah, so I just won my first game quite easily, to be honest, and I was very happy with the outcome. I had no true expectations going into the tournament, but I would have loved to win 3 out of 6 points, and I ended up winning much more by accident. So please stick around until round 4 where some crazy stuff happened. Let's move on to round 2. Round 2 was the same day, and I believe it was another unrated opponent. I had a pretty quick first game. I was hoping that my second game would go smoother because I had more time to rest than what I assumed my opponent had. So they started with d4, and I play King's Indian defense against d4, and they just played some kind of London. I think this is Jobava London. I don't know. If I'm wrong, don't crucify me, but basically, I think this is all a kind of theory. Up to here, for me, this was familiar. After this move, I wasn't really familiar, but I just kept going with my King's Indian defense knowledge, which means castling, maybe knight bd2 stuff. Let me see here. I think one of the ways to proceed is c5. That's a very strong move. Even though they take, you kind of take away their center pawn. You double their pawns, and you'll be able to capture that pawn in the future. You want to take your queen out to maybe a5 and do some shenanigans there. But I didn't play that, even though it's kind of in my repertoire. I think I was too scared of being down a pawn. It's classical chess after all. If I get into an endgame a pawn down somehow, I will not be very happy. They played h4, which is a very common move in these kind of structures where they want to start storming their pawns on the king side to immediately go into an attack on my king. And I used to get clapped in blitz all the time with this move h4, and I just didn't know how to address it. Turns out the best way to address it is play h5. And then they brought their queen in. Yeah, I didn't push c5, I pushed c4. I wanted to support my pawn on d5, and I don't think that was a great move, but it wasn't the worst either. They castle queenside, and I go for knight e4, which is actually a mistake. This was not a good move because after we trade, now I have a doubled pawn, and that is no good for me. However, my opponent helps me by simply taking away my doubled pawn. Now, they do take away my center pawn, but still, like, why are you helping me undouble my pawns? Of course, the only sound way to go about this is to take, because, like, you literally solved my problem for me. This is still slightly advantageous for white, this position, as the engine will say. It's plus 0.6. I'm not showing you the engine, but I mean, that's all right. I can tell you what the engine says. I'll be the mediator. I'm really proud of this move here, which is e5. It's actually, I think, the best move in the position. It's kind of like a little gambit that I came up on my own. So usually I play gambits and openings that I learn from other chess coaches and creators and masters, but this was a little gambit of mine that I came up with in the game. And obviously you guys can see that I'm giving away the pawn for free, because if they take, I cannot take back, because then I'd be giving up my bishop. So it's a free pawn. But is it though? Because this is what happened in the game. Takes, and then I forced a queen trade, of course, because with queens off the board, their attack on my king side is much less likely to result in a checkmate. It can still be very scary, but usually I find that when I play King's Indian defense against white's d4, I like to trade queens in these positions. I think the best move here was bishop e6, of course, developing the bishop, but I decided to go after the pawn because I thought, like, yeah, I'm down a pawn. I need to get that pawn back. And it wasn't the best move in the position, even though it's very forcing. I do gain the pawn back, so I'm not down material anymore. It would have been better to continue developing my material, but that's okay. So they play g4, which is actually not that scary. I takes, and then I take back the pawn. They decide not to take with the bishop because I don't think they want to trade their dark square bishop. And this is where the game gets really, really sharp. Like the position starts to be very sharp. Now I'll tell you why. I play bishop e6 at last. The position is equal on the board. I am threatening some things already. I'm looking at that a2 pawn. Of course, I can't take right now because if I did take right now, you guys know this little trap. They could push b3, my bishop would be stuck and hard to defend, and they would be able to gain it. So I can't play it yet, but I'm kind of preparing to take some of those pawns on the king side. Because if you guys can see on the king side, the white has barely any pieces, so we can take advantage of that. They push and I take because I thought that if I allowed them to push further, this is the position we would get into. Like, let's say I do something, let's say I do something like this, push this and push and here. Now, you guys wouldn't think it, but this game is completely equal on the engine. Like the engine says that the position is completely equal, but being in this position in a classical game that lasts hours would have stressed me the hell out. I don't want this. This does not look good. My king is defending from promotion, and it's a very safe king. I know that, but I don't like this. I don't want it. Let's go back. What I did instead was I took the h-pawn, they took with the bishop, and then I attacked their rook. They have to defend the rook. It's a very forcing move. There's no intermezzo. So they went to h3, which was starting to look a little scary because now they can double their rooks on the h-file, come down on my king. My king is still very much defended, but let's see what happens. This was a move that I was waiting to make. As you guys can see, it's a very forcing move because I'm attacking a rook plus a pawn at the same time. So I'm basically forking their material. I'm gonna win some material here, but I still also had to be very careful. So I couldn't take the pawn in this moment because they have a pretty strong attack on my king side right now. So I need to kind of address that first. So what I did was rook fd8, which the engine does not like, but I like because it allows my king an escape square. There was all sorts of shenanigans they could have done here. If they move their, let's say, if they move their light square bishop somewhere here, now they have this open file. My king has no squares. And what will I do after we trade bishops here, after they force me to trade? So in this moment, even though the engine doesn't like it, I made this move that allows my king to like walk out of there slowly because in this position, I have nowhere to go. So I had to do it for my own sake. Sorry, Stockfish. They undoubled their rooks, but they did pin me to my bishop, which I was like, no, I don't like being pinned down in chess. So I left right then and there. I moved away with my king. They attacked my knight, and this was the only moment that I could take the pawn on b2. It was hanging for a long time. They could have pushed, instead of attacking my knight, they should have just pushed b3. That was the best thing they could have done. But they allowed me to take the pawn, which I wasn't sure why. I think later in the analysis, they tried to tell me they forgot about the pawn, maybe. Again, my opponents were unrated, so it's not like we're playing high-level chess here, guys. I go back, and now they have no mate threats. As you guys can see, my king is still very constricted, and they might be looking at like winning a rook or something. They finally decide to bring their knight into the game, and this is where it is basically winning for me because I have some tactics. Can you spot the tactics? So as you can see, their king is very, very constricted. If we get rid of this bishop, we are threatening checkmate. And even if we don't get rid of the bishop, this knight is threatening some forks. So what is it going to be? Let's see. It was up to my opponent in which way they will give me material. Oh, that's so arrogant. Okay. I took the knight on f3, which means that I gave away my bishop pair, but I gave it away for a very good reason, as you guys will see now. There's a check here. King is so constricted. And after king c1, there's a beautiful fork. I still had to think quite hard about what to do because taking one of the rooks also means they can take my bishop, which means that they will now threaten my d8 rook. So I had to think really hard about what to do here. And I calculated a lot of the different variations in which maybe if we trade, it will be an equal trade, or maybe they'll have some way of taking my rook. So I had to look at all sorts of things, but turns out just taking here is fine. I should have taken on g5. That was the better move, but this was also fine because after rook d6, now they don't have any more threats. Here, they're forking my knight and the square h8. If they check me on h8 and I move my king, they can take this rook. And if I don't do anything, like if I don't move my king right now, they can take the knight. However, they forget that after knight takes, rook check, there's rook g8. So their fork doesn't do anything. They still kept playing after this, but there was nothing there. I had just won too much material. I simply walked my king all the way over. They tried attacking, they tried doing things, but I was just going to walk all over the board and do whatever. I owned the board. Yes. So I won 2 out of 2 games on my first day of the tournament. I was so happy because I had such pressure. My last tournament in Maya, the Portugal tournament, did not go well. I did not play good chess. And in this tournament, I started really well. I started off really well. So I thought to myself that some of the pressure is off. Let's move on to round 3. It's the next morning. I'm feeling really good about the previous day, but I'm thinking surely someone's going to break my win streak right now. I'm not going to go 3 out of 3. I'm going to speedrun this game because it was quite short. I played the Catalan. They played some weird stuff against the Catalan. I didn't know what to do against this move, so I played knight bd2. I thought, develop my knight. Let's see what happens because I'm going to go to g2 with my bishop, so I'll have a way to castle. And if they trade me, I'll get my dark square bishop out, and they're trading a developed piece to help me develop, so it wouldn't be great for them. They didn't trade, they castle. I kick the bishop, I develop my light square bishop, and they push c5. I was unsure what to do about this center moment. Like there's a rectangle, or sorry, a square of pawns. I don't think I've ever experienced this pawn square in classical chess before. I wasn't sure what to do about it, so I just left it. And I castled. They brought their queen out. I took at this point because I thought about maybe breaking up the center and seeing what happens. I actually wasn't really confident. I was making moves very quickly. I was in a bad stomach pain and anxiety, and I kind of just wanted the game to be over, not gonna lie. So I was making quick moves, but so did my opponent, and it didn't turn out that great for my opponent, actually. I kicked the queen, and here I thought what looked nice was c5 because it blocks their dark square bishop off, and it makes it hard for them to keep developing. But actually, if I did that, they could just challenge me here, and then that whole idea goes away. It's not good. So I didn't do that. What I did instead was take on d5 because I've heard that you want to take center pawns with your non-center pawns. Took their center pawn. They take back with the pawn, which I found super unusual. Like, why would you make an isolated pawn for yourself? They take with the pawn. Nevertheless, I develop my dark square bishop. They developed their light square bishop, and now I start to develop more pieces. Obviously, I wasn't thinking about attacking yet at this point, even though an attack came very soon after this. But in my mind, I was just trying to develop with tempo, so now I'm kicking their queen away. I developed my rook to e1, which kind of made this f2 pawn a weakness, but I was aware of it, and I was gonna defend it if need be. So they develop. I develop my queen to c2 because I am looking at some kind of future possibilities of attack here. I mean, I honestly have a very small knowledge of the Catalan, but I think the queen on this light square diagonal or queen on c2 is very common. So I just played it. I was like, let's see what happens. I kind of know some ideas in the Catalan, so I was just going off of the little I know. After rook c8, I did not want my queen to stay on this file, on the c file, because I'm not comfortable in these situations where there could be a discovered attack on my queen. So I moved my queen to b1, traded pawns here. I really didn't want them to make a passed pawn or lock in my pawns on the queen side somehow. I honestly don't know what I was thinking. I just thought it would be simpler for me if I took, they take back with the knight, and now I play knight g5 and I go away from the board and I walk to the bathroom. I may be able to open up like this diagonal, maybe able to take one of their bishops and have the bishop pair. It was looking very good. I come back and I see the move knight g4. And I was thinking to myself, this looks like mate. And then I thought, like, let me check how much time we both had left. It looked very much like mate, but I wasn't sure. We both, oh, I didn't write the time. We both had like an hour 20 on the clock or something. And I was like, wait, this isn't mate, because the king can just, like, obviously you guys see I have this check, king goes away, and then for some reason I thought about this not being mate. I thought, oh, they just walk away. Like, that tells you a lot about the state I was in. But it is mate. It is mate. It is made in two. This move is made in two. Luckily, I saw the first move of the mate as the very forcing move. Queen takes h8. But what I thought was going to happen is king, check, takes with check, takes, and then I have another check here because my bishop is also supporting me, and then I can take their knight. So I thought I was going to be gaining a piece. I missed that it was mate in one. I think what would have happened is after they make the move king f8, if they kept playing, I would have seen that queen h8 is indeed checkmate, right? I can only count on my discernment in that moment, but that didn't happen. They resigned. They didn't speak English, so in Dutch, they started explaining that this was some kind of attack they were hoping for. But I don't know what the heck they were talking about, because there's no attack if I'm going to mate you, right? At the very least, I knew I would be gaining their knight, which is very silly of me, because obviously I had mate. But anyway, my opponent resigned. I was on 3 out of 3, and I was like, wait, am I going to win this tournament? Turns out I wasn't going to win the tournament. But guys, the craziest thing happened. Game 4, my opponent plays d4. Guys, this game went on for 100 moves. I cannot do an in-depth analysis of the game. I will tell you right away, I lost this game. My opponent played pretty weird in the opening. I thought I had some awesome attack, which I did actually. I will show you. So it was all very cool and solid. In the opening, I was slowly gaining control over the center, and at some point my opponent had nowhere to go with their pieces. Like, I completely immobilized their position. You'll see here. They attack my rook, I go back to f8. There was a lot of back and forth here. I kick their bishop, they go back. I go to d2. Knight here is threatening a fork. I go back with the queen. Like, there was a lot of like small maneuvers trying to improve the position. And eventually, right about here, guys, it's -2 for black. Like, it's really, really good positionally. I am starting an attack on the king side. Their pieces are all up in the queen side corner. I knew I could get in on the king side and start attacking. Like, it was looking really nice. See, even the next move, now it's -3 for black. Like, it's crazy. I was trying to prepare this tactic that might possibly win me a piece or a trade, because there was no way to defend both pieces. I don't know. It was like, it was very layered during the game, but I'm just going to show you that was one tactic I had in mind. So I was trying to prepare it. And another one was some kind of this shenanigan. Maybe I can fork, royal fork. I don't know. I was preparing a lot, and it was -3.4. I was doing much better. I had tactics, and somehow I just let them slip. Slowly but surely, they started improving their position. I made this very slow move, king h7 here, which kind of like, it was just too slow. When you're playing dynamically, when you have tactics on the board, play the tactics. Take the free pieces if there is any. They're not going to be on there on the next move. But what I was trying to do is slowly but surely get my rook on g8 behind the queen. Push f5 to, I don't know, trade pawns. I don't know. I was just way too slow, and slowly but surely my opponent kind of derailed my tactical advantage. They forced some trades that were not that great for me. After this, I take, yes. Basically, it became, we went into a very long and complicated endgame that The game went from me being in a winning position to it being equal, drawish, to me losing the game. My opponent played quite poorly, I would say, in the opening and middle game, but I dropped the ball. I didn't take advantage of my advantage, and I just dropped the ball. We went into the end game, and all of a sudden, my opponent is playing like a GM in the end game. It's what happens all the time. It's like you get someone into a position that is not very good to them, then they trade you, get you into an end game, and then you are like lost for what to do. I think in my mind, I still had some kind of feeling like I'm winning, so I just didn't look at every new position without that feeling of like I'm better. I thought I was better. It turns out I lost the game eventually. They gained a pawn here. You guys will see in a second. Now they're up a pawn in an end game. And slowly, very slowly, it was such a long, drawn out end game. Very, very slow. I thought I could make repetitions. I thought my bishop would be defending everything. Or it's already +4 for white here, +5. So they're just completely winning. But I wasn't going to give up. I was going to be relentless about defending until the very end. They found a way in. They found a way to make a promoted pawn. Actually, something really embarrassing happened here. I thought I had stalemate if I sacked my bishop. So after this and this, I thought if they take my bishop, I have stalemate. Completely forgetting that the only legal move, king takes h7, is possible. So after I took this and they took back, I claimed stalemate. And they were like, what? No, I calculated everything. And then he was like, oh, wait, you can take on a7. And I was like, you win, you win. It was a 4-hour game, 93 moves, almost 100 moves. It's too long. My brain was mush. So they won fair and square. Like the game itself was fair. They won. I was really surprised because they are an unrated opponent. It said on the, sheet that we get. So I was like, wow, well played. I asked my opponent, what is your online rating? Because I always ask my opponents that because I want to kind of gauge their strength compared to my online strength. And this guy said to me, oh, my online is like 1600 on chess.com. I can't play better than that. If I tried to get better, I would have a headache or something like that. So he was kind of reluctant to talk more about it. He just wanted to get his stuff and go. And I didn't think much of this. I was like, he won fair and square. We played a good game. I'm not unhappy with how I played. I'm happy I could get myself into kind of a better position. Maybe next time I'll take better advantage of my better position. Yeah. So I come back the next day, guys, and I'm playing my first game. And after the game, the arbiter comes up to me and says, we need to talk. And I'm like, what did I do? They said, you didn't do anything. Someone else did. And I was like, one of my friends? No, it was my opponent from this round, from fourth round. The way they explained it to me, and I'm paraphrasing, is that my opponent claimed to have no rating, but they have a Dutch rating of 1784, which is almost 200 points higher than most of the people in the D1 group, in the D group. He was playing in a group that was way below his Dutch rating, which was considered cheating according to FIDE and tournament regulations. So even though he didn't cheat in the game, he didn't go and look at his phone for moves and stuff like that, the game was completely valid and it will count towards his FIDE rating, I think. He was still disqualified from the tournament. And in turn, I got to claim this game as a win in my tournament points. So now I was on 4 out of 6, which is crazy. It's crazy. Of course, I know that I didn't win this game. I know that the point only counts towards the tournament end result, which was still awesome. I also got a free hoodie from them, a free sweatshirt with Amsterdam Chess Open logo, and it's beautiful. And I won't be losing any FIDE rating because my opponent does not have a FIDE rating still. If you're still confused, to summarize, it's pretty confusing. They had a Dutch rating of 1784, but they were playing in a group for up to like 1700, which was not fair to us all because he is a much stronger chess player than most of us, almost 1800, and he's playing against people who are way lower rated. It makes the whole pairing system within the group weird, If I didn't play him, I would have maybe won the game because I would have played against someone much closer to my rating. I have no idea if they did it by accident or on purpose because I didn't see them. They got disqualified from the tournament, unfortunately. I wish them the best of luck. We still played a pretty good game of chess, so that's all I can say. But yeah, this game was technically a loss, but in the tournament's eyes, I have the point from this game. So now I'm on 4 out of 4, and let's move on to rounds 5 and 6. Guys, when I tell you round 5 was another very long, drawn out game, I'm not lying. So I'm going to have to go over it very quickly because my niece is banging on my door asking to play with her, and I have to do that. I played the Catalan again, and in this game, I actually misplayed quite a bit. I was in quite a losing position by the middle game, and I'll show you why very quickly. You guys can see here. Now we have a center pawn. They don't have one. My plan is to prepare e4, e5 perhaps. I trade my dark square bishop because the dark square bishop in the Catalan, I don't think it's that amazing. I think it's the light square bishop that you focus on because you guys, this is a very deadly diagonal for the rook. You can have some discovered attacks there. It can be really awesome if it happens, if it comes to that. It didn't come to that, but it's just worth mentioning. I had a pretty strong setter, but my opponent found some really cool tactics soon enough. They were able to gain another pawn. Yeah, I was really not confident in this position. Actually, I thought I was much worse off than the engine says. The engine says it's only -1 for black, which is still very, very doable, you know? But I was just scared of dropping all my pawns and having them storm those queenside connected pawns and making a passer. Like, I was really unsure. So I allowed them to get this exchange in their favor, this material advantage in their favor. And I was just trying to maneuver my pieces in a way to take away their passers. It's -4 at this point. I made just a series of bad moves. I just didn't play that well in the opening and middle game, but I became a super grandmaster in the end game, guys, and I'll show you how. We are picking up each other's pawns here. And there was this great tactic here if it worked, but it didn't. So there's rook d8 check, takes with check, check, and here I would have queen d4 check and be able to win the rook. But of course they can defend with the queen here, so the tactic didn't end up working. I mean, it never was going to work, but I didn't see that they can defend with the queen until after all the trades. At this point, it's -5 for black. So how is Tamara Magician going to turn this game around? Well, let me tell you. What am I going to start doing now? I'm going to start checking. I'm going to start trying to find a perpetual checkmate. Sorry, there's no such thing as a perpetual checkmate. A perpetual check, which would end in a draw. A perpetual checkmate? Is that a thing? Am I imagining things? Am I hallucinating right now? I don't know. Either way, they were constantly trying to attack f1 and f2 with the queen and the rook. And oh, I wasn't going to let that happen, guys. So I push h5. They are, again, like, the only thing I can do right now is check their king as much as possible. So I was finding all the safest ways to check, 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 check. I was able to do something very tricky here, which is, wait for it, get my queen on g7, check the king, and be able to take that pawn. Now I have a passer. Now that's very dangerous for them. They have to address it. Oh no! It's +5 for me now. So if I played this, I could have won this game now. I kind of knew, guys, that I could have won this game. I had a win. This is when I find out, because I haven't had time to check over this with the engine. +5 for me. That didn't happen, I'm afraid, guys. I didn't make the win. Even though I had a passer. Oh, guys, you have to forgive me for not seeing the win. I went from completely losing to finding a draw in the endgame, and I was very happy with that, and I wasn't about to drop the ball. So I'm really sorry that I didn't find the win. I kind of knew. I kind of knew that with the passer, I probably could have done something, but it was so hard to calculate. We're already on move 55. Like, there's only like 5 to 10 minutes on the clock. There wasn't much time. I missed the win. Wow, classical chess is riveting. Spoiler alert, we drew the game. It was a forced draw after this. I had a win, though. In my mind, I'm proud still. I'm proud that I got a draw out of a pretty lost position. I'm not very proud. I'm going to have to look at that past pawn analysis a little more. But hey, what an exciting game. Am I right? That was crazy. So we drew. Now I'm on 4.5 out of 5. And we have one more game. And I could have been a contender for a cash prize or one of the top prizes if I won my last game. And let's see how that went. I would say that this game was probably my worst play of the tournament. I'm not sure as far as accuracy and stuff goes. Like I said, I haven't checked with my computer analysis stuff yet, but I just didn't feel like I played as well as the other games. I felt really good about the whole tournament altogether. I didn't play my best chess in this one. It was the last round. Guys, when I say I was exhausted, I have a cold, I have stomach pain, I feel sleepy. It's the second game after a really long draw earlier in the day. I was not at my best here, so this is how the game went. My opponent played the fried liver, which I'm very actually prepared against because I used to get destroyed by the fried liver online. But they played one move which I wasn't prepared for, which is this D3 move. And honestly, what my coach tells me is, why did you play knight A5? To take the light square bishop, because the light square bishop is a quite a big threat, and also you will have the advantage of the bishop pair after you take. So of course I took, and then I tried to create some threats here. After developing, I was like, okay, let's double attack this piece and see what my opponent does. My opponent defends with the queen, so now the piece is twice defended, twice attacked. I pin this one defender to the king, they castle. Now I takes, and after some shuffling around, I again double attack the knight on e4. And honestly, here I was trying to create some kind of disruption on their king side, which happened, which was really nice. But what I forgot about is I need to think really hard about developing and where to develop, because if you guys don't know, you don't want to put your major pieces on the same diagonal if your opponent has the bishop of that color that can go and fork your pieces. He really forked me there. He really did. I was devastated when I saw this fork. I completely missed it. Took, what, 6 minutes on this move and I missed the fork. I was just not playing good chess. What can I say? There's no excuse. Do your tactics, guys, so that this doesn't happen to you as well. Of course, I had to let them take the rook. Obviously, I cannot defend both pieces. There's no intermezzo. What they ended up trying to do is trap my queen, which I kind of knew wasn't going to happen. After this, my queen is trapped. It has nowhere to go, but I still have my dark square bishop, which can pin the knight to the king. And in worst case scenario, I take the knight with my dark square bishop, and then my queen is no longer trapped. I knew there was no way they could trap the queen, but they still are an exchange up, and a very scary exchange as well. I had to take the knight here, otherwise I'm losing either the bishop or the queen, you know? So the only move was to take. Maybe I could have played bishop d4 here, but guys, after they sack the rook, I still lose the queen, so I can't do that. At this point, I knew that my only course of action was to be very, very aggressive. Otherwise, I pretty much lose. In the long term, their position is pretty much crushing. They have material advantage. I thought maybe if they take here and I put my bishop on this diagonal, maybe I'll be threatening the king in some way. That didn't happen. They tried forcing a queen trade. I didn't want a queen trade, but it was eventually a forced queen trade. I take here first so that at least I can take a pawn back. They takes, and now after king f2, my passed pawn unfortunately doesn't have many legs to stand on. In fact, no legs at all. A legless pawn. Rook d6, which I don't know what I was trying to do, guys. Honestly, this is just lost. This is just lost. It took me quite a while to resign because I thought maybe I could create some counterplays somehow. But eventually they even sacrificed their rook here. Well, they sacrificed the exchange and they just have crushing attack. There's no way to stop this pawn from promoting. If I go here, this pawn will promote. If I take, they take, and now I cannot stop the pawn. So there was just nothing. After the fork, it was really, really not looking good for me. So I think this is the only game that I'm unhappy about how I played. But the other games, I felt much better about my chess than my chess in Portugal. I've had some coaching, I've done my puzzles, so I think that reflected in my gameplay. And it really did help that I was playing people who were about the same rating as me and lower rated. In my previous tournament in Maya, it was all over the place. It was just like unrated person, higher rated person. Not gonna lie, I don't think I did the best job analyzing all my games. This video was more just to showcase them to you and give you some of my thoughts and behind the scenes. But of course, we can do much more in-depth analysis in the comments, and you guys can tell me your thoughts about my games. Ended the tournament on 4.5 out of 6, which is my best score out of any tournament yet, although I don't really count it because I did lose that one game. That was my experience playing OTB classical chess in Amsterdam over a weekend. It was pretty crazy. It was packed. I don't think I'll be playing another classical tournament until next year because this was very intense for me. Like I said, there was so much anxiety and I don't know where it came from. So I think I need more time to study and just relax about chess before getting myself into another stress environment. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next week. If you have any videos that you'd like to see from me, please do let me know in the comments. Love you. Bye.